15 Sinister Reddit Tales Revealed. Disturbing, cursed narratives to haunt your dreams forever. On a quiet summer night, in a dilapidated suburb, the shadows crept like fingers across Lisa's window panes. Each time she heard the low murmur from the neighbors, her heart would race, her breath hitching in her throat. Life had become a living horror story. As a single mother, the responsibilities of raising her two young kids while working nights at the local convenience store weighed heavily on her. The flickering streetlight outside was her only source of comfort, but even it seemed to pulse with a sinister rhythm these days. As she chased her toddler around the cramped living room, Lisa's mind would drift to the stories that haunted the town. The tales of the watcher who thrived on fear, lurking just outside of sight, had taken root in her thoughts. The very essence of her sanctuary felt compromised, like a candle about to snuff out in a sudden gust of wind. "Did you hear?" The neighbors would whisper, voices tight with panic, outlining a chill that curled her spine. Another family vanished. Lisa tried to dismiss the growing dread twisting inside her, but it gnawed at her. The windows felt like eyes, watching, waiting. Still, she sought reprieve from her dread when she stumbled upon Reddit, a digital refuge that twisted her fears into something tangible. 15 Sinister Reddit Tales Revealed. It proclaimed in bold letters. Each horrifying post she read only deepened her anxiety. Disappearing children, figures shrouded in darkness, and long-buried secrets thrummed through her mind. Shadows of families lost to the clutches of the Watcher consumed her. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the weeks dragged on, paranoia crept deeper, and the friendly face of her neighbor morphed into a specter. He had always offered help, but now he felt more like a predator. Lisa's instincts flared. One night, she gathered her children, ready to flee under the cover of darkness. "Just a picnic in the woods," she whispered, feigning normalcy while horror clawed at her insides. They wandered into the thick pines, shadows swallowing them whole. The moonlight faded behind a shroud of clouds. Lisa's pulse quickened. The forest buzzed eerily, filled with rustling whispers. Unfamiliar sounds drew nearer, and anxiety cranked her heart rate to dizzying heights. Just as her hope wavered, she remembered another chilling post. The Watcher, it said, thrived on fear. As fear thrashed inside her, the trees seemed to close in. Panic surged as voices echoed in the dark, calling her name, familiar yet wrong. It felt like a taunt, like the culmination of everything she had read. The shadows danced like phantoms, drawing closer, and Lisa realized the legends she had dismissed were not just stories. They had a sinister grip on reality. The flickering lights of her neighborhood, now distant, seemed to pulse with warnings. She trembled, caught between survival and the chilling echoes of betrayal, the past creeping into the present. What would the shadows reveal? The truth lay just beyond reach, and she was not alone in the depths of the woods. The biting cold seeped into Lisa's bones as she clutched her children tightly. They were both silent now, sensing the danger lurking just outside their makeshift sanctuary. The whispers continued, drifting through the trees, brushing against her ears like a chilling breeze. It felt deliberate, meant to sow discord, to shatter her grip on reality. "Stay close," she whispered, her voice trembling as she scanned the darkness. Every rustle felt like footsteps, every crack of a twig like breaking glass. They needed to get deeper into the woods, away from the eyes that might be watching from the shadows. Panic tightened around her throat. The urge to scream clawed at her lips, but she bit down, tasting blood. She needed to be the protector, but fear wrapped its icy fingers around her heart, squeezing painfully. "Breathe," she told herself. "You have to think. What would her mother have done?" All those stories about the forest, the spirits, the lost souls clashed in her mind like thunder. Memories of childhood frights bubbled back, tales of a darkness that chased innocent souls. But this fear was not just folklore. It was pulsating, real, and alive. Moments twisted into eternity as Lisa led her children further, dodging tree roots and low branches that seemed to reach out in warning. The air thickened with dread, suffocating as much as the encroaching darkness. Then there it was, a sudden flicker of movement in the corner of her vision. A flash of pale skin against the night, watching, waiting. No, it was gone before she could fully grasp it. Her heart thudded against her rib cage like a caged animal, desperate for escape. "Mama?" Her daughter's small voice quivered, strained and scared. Lisa forced a smile. "Just a little further, sweetie. We'll find a nice spot to rest." But deep down, she felt that this was no ordinary night, and they were not alone. The forest had eyes, and she could feel them weighing heavily on her. The very trees seemed to absorb her fear, the ground sucking it up like a sponge. Suddenly, amidst the tension, a chilling laugh sliced through the air. It echoed off the trees, mocking, taunting, sending ripples of fear down her spine. The voice was distorted, a nightmarish rendition of the very essence of terror. It was one she'd heard from the stories, the voice of the Watcher. "What do you want?" she yelled, trying to anchor her voice in authority. But it sounded weak, almost feeble. "Just a glimpse, Lisa," the voice replied, thick with mirth. "Just a glimpse of the fear that dances in your heart." She felt it, the raw terror. The stories had prepared her for something, but not for this. It gnawed at her sanity, cracking her sense of safety. She had always dismissed it, hadn't she? Something buried deep within her screamed that this wasn't merely an encounter with a shadow. It was a nightmare that had taken form, a living entity born from her own fears. Run. Panicked thoughts surged. There was a way out. She would push through, tears streaming down her cheeks, adrenaline coursing. She couldn't lose her children. But just as she turned, a figure emerged from the trees, cloaked in darkness, its silhouette tauntingly teasing. The air buzzed with impending doom, a taut rope ready to snap. The figure didn't move closer. It just stood there, an anchor in the storm of dread, gleefully awaiting her next move. She froze. What could possibly compel a mother to confront the monster in the dark? The shadows closed in around them, and the forest became a maze of despair. The chilling laugh echoed again, and for the first time, Lisa didn't just feel fear. She felt hopelessness creeping in, slowly consuming her. Would she be haunting, too? A shadow among shadows, forever running? As panic rose in her throat, she thought, what if the stories weren't just tales? What if they were a warning? The Watcher grinned, and the forest sang with a chorus of dread. Stay or flee, there was no telling which would lead to salvation, and which to despair. "Lisa!" her son cried, pulling at her jacket. The figure swayed, and darkness thickened. Ahead, a small clearing appeared, with glimmers of light. Hopeful? Deceptive? Each fleeting thought twisted her resolve. Would the shadows engulf her? Or would this be the moment she would claw back against the dark? Whatever choice lay ahead, the cliff between fear and courage teetered on a knife edge, ready to plunge her into the depths of despair. Just then, the laughter crescendoed, and the figure beckoned. The most haunting question echoed in her mind. Was there truly an escape, or was the Watcher just waiting for her to venture closer? Curiosity warred with terror, and she was holding her breath, waiting for the decision that would seal her fate. The flickering light drew her in, a fragile beacon in the oppressive night. Lisa's instincts warred with her racing heart. Could it be safety, or just a cruel trick of the Watcher? She hesitated, glancing back at her children, their faces illuminated by the eerie glow. Fear made her decision weighty, but she clung to the hope that flickered ahead. "Stay close," she breathed, her voice barely a whisper, trembling with the weight of the moment. With cautious strides, they moved toward the clearing. The shadows loomed larger as the trees whispered secrets, their branches waving like bony fingers. Each step felt like wading through thick fog, every movement hazardous, steeled with dread. The laughter lurked behind them, always near, like a malevolent spirit echoing her every fear. As they entered the clearing, Lisa felt a strange warmth enveloping her, an unexpected comfort amidst the chaos. The moonlight poured down like liquid silver, illuminating what appeared to be an ancient stone altar at the center. The stones were smooth and worn, engraved with symbols that twisted and contorted like they had their own heartbeat. She sensed a history here, dark and filled with whispered intentions. "Mama, I don't like it," Her daughter's voice trembled against the stillness. Lisa's heart sank as she turned to face them. Inside her, a storm brewed, a clash of maternal instinct against the gnawing dread that forked in her gut. "Look," she urged, trying to inject certainty into her voice. "We'll sit here for a minute, just to rest." She gripped her children's hands tightly, as if her hold could fend off whatever darkness lingered. "Do you see it?" Her son pointed, eyes wide with fear. "The shadow behind the altar." Lisa's gaze snapped to the stones. There it was, hunched and dark, a sliver of a figure lurking just out of reach of the moon's light. The Watcher. Her breath caught in her throat. It had followed them, not just to taunt, but to feast upon the fear that writhed within. The laughter twisted around her, now a sickening song that intertwined with the murmur of the wind. "Welcome," the voice slithered through the air, wrapping around them. "Your fear is palpable. I can taste it, no?" she shouted, a burst of defiance rising from somewhere deep within. "You can't have my children." But it only seemed to amuse the creature more. "Oh, sweet Lisa, I don't want them. I want you. The heartbeat of this terror is you." The air chilled further. Her children's wide eyes reflected her own growing horror. The shadows began to pull at them, trying to erase their forms against the bright moonlight. "Run," she screamed, adrenaline firing her limbs. The glow of the altar was now a trap, ensnaring them with its false promise of safety. They needed to escape this darkness now. As she turned, the shadows closed in, slick and dark like ink spilling over the ground. She felt them grasping at her ankles, pulling her backward with all their might. Lisa latched onto her children and sprinted back toward the woods, her heart pounding against her ribcage like a war drum. Branches snagged at their jackets, the forest alive and fighting to keep them. The laughter began to morph into cries, howls of anguish that echoed through her mind. Every step took her deeper into the heart of despair, closer to something that had waited far too long. "Faster, Mama," her son gasped, tears shining in the moonlight as they plunged deeper into the trees. But the Watcher was there, weaving through the shadows, a master of the dark, laughing as it performed its sinister dance. "Why won't you let me show you?" it sang. "The truth, what lies beyond the veil of fear." Lisa stumbled, her grip slipping for a moment as she lost her footing. Her heart skipped. Was this where it ended? The forest echoed with the weight of her dread, but the thought of her children ignited a fire she didn't know existed. In the depths of the wood, something stirred. Bright flickers of gold against the darkness caught her eye. A path? A chance? They had to find it. As they pushed forward, the laughter transformed, a twisted symphony that clawed behind them, clawing deeper into her psyche. The forest around them shifted, the very ground beneath their feet seeming to warp with each passing moment. But then, the voice returned, soft now, almost a whisper. "You cannot hide from what you fear, Lisa. You are mine." And with that, the shadows erupted, a cacophony of shrieks and laughter surrounding her once more. What would happen next? Would they find the truth hidden in the shadows? In that moment, Lisa realized she was not just a pawn in this game. She was the queen, and it was time to confront the true depths of terror awaiting her. But was she strong enough to face it? The strange light ahead flickered again, dancing invitingly. What should she choose, escape or confrontation? The choice teetered on a knife's edge. The ground throbbed beneath her feet, pulsating like a living thing, raw, and she could feel it reverberating through her bones. Lisa's desperate push forward was met with mocking laughter that echoed through the trees. The shadows shifted hungrily, ready to engulf her and her children at any moment. "Keep running," she gasped, her breath quickening as the specter of the Watcher loomed ever closer. She felt the cold fingers of its presence brush against her back, an intimate whisper promising despair. But the flickers of gold ahead, they beckoned like distant lanterns guiding lost souls home. Her mind raced. What if the light was a trap? But as her heart pounded in terror, she couldn't slow down. "To the light," she urged, motivation woven with fear. The ground opened up before them, a narrow path framed by thorny brambles. The moonlight bathed the area in silvery hues, almost nurturing, contrasting sharply with the abysmal darkness that lurked just beyond. It almost seemed inviting. With one last glance at the shadows gnashing behind them, she seized her children's hands tight. "This way." Suddenly, from the trees off to her right, sharp growls pierced the night, blending into the cacophony of terrifying laughter. A snarl erupted, and Lisa's heart leaped into her throat. Run! Faster! Branch after branch clawed at her skin as they dashed along the path. The growls intensified, sounding closer than before. She could feel her children's fear radiating, thickening the air around them, even as she struggled to maintain her own resolve. Mommy, what is chasing us? Her daughter's voice broke through the fog of panic. I don't know, Lisa shouted back, fighting an urge to look over her shoulder. Just run. The mockery swelled as if it thrived off their terror. You can't escape. You'll only find the truth when it's too late. The shadows expanded, clawing toward them with relentless abandon. They formed monstrous shapes, stretching their limbs across the path, trying to trip them up. Lisa gasped as her foot snagged on a protruding root, sending her tumbling forward. Her children lost their grip, fear rending them from her side as she fell. Mommy, stay where you are, she screamed, desperately scrambling back to her feet. Heart racing, she reached for them, her breath hitching as she found them frozen in terror. The shadows twitched and stirred around them. In the distance, the laughter morphed into haunting cries, flickering like the dying embers of a fire. Over here, a voice whispered, faint but clear in the mayhem. It called her from the left, the flickering light, now a tantalizing promise wrapping her in warmth. It shimmered, a golden thread woven through the darkness. Move, she cried, pulling her children to her. But as they turned, they were met by an expanse of nothingness. Panic washed over her. The path had vanished, swallowed by the shadows. It was as if they had stepped into another realm. The trees twisted, gnarled and threatening. Where was the safety of the altar? Let us go back, her son cried, eyes brimming with unshed tears. We can't stay here. We can't go back. Lisa's heart thudded painfully against her ribs. We have to trust in the light. As they wavered, the laughter surged, deeper and more sinister. You can't trust the light, Lisa. It will only show you more fear. What do you want? She shouted into the curtain of shadows encroaching on them, her voice wavering. What do you want from us? Fear, sweet Lisa. Your fear feeds us. Your doubts and your pain, they linger like sweet nectar. The ground pulsated again, and as it did, the shadows lunged. Lisa's heart leaped as she pulled her children to her, struggling to shield them from the unspeakable terror that hungered so close. No, she screamed, wielding strength she didn't fully possess. Enough. But the shadows writhed in response, and the laughter echoed, engulfing her. And then she remembered a flicker of defiance ignited within. No more. With every last reserve, she stepped into the grasp of the light, feeling it wash over her like a wave. What would it reveal? And just then, the air around her shimmered, revealing silhouettes amidst the light. Figures swirled in and out of focus, some dear to her, each carrying an unspoken truth. What awaited her in this confrontation? Would the light expose her greatest fears or grant an escape? As the flickering intensified, unraveling the very fabric of reality, uncertainty gripped her heart. It was time to choose. But would they all survive the truth hidden in the light? The golden embrace enveloped them, swirling around her and her children like a dream. But Lisa felt no comfort. Instead, it was an unsettling tide, a reminder that the shadows could not be far behind. She squinted, trying to make sense of the figures forming around them. Lisa, a voice reverberated from the light. Warm yet chilling, it tugged at her heartstrings. It was her mother, her face soft and radiant. But Lisa felt a hollow ache swell inside. You're not alone, her mother said, reaching out. Tears streamed down Lisa's cheeks, but they were filled with fear. Mom, help us. The shadows clawed at the periphery of the luminous circle, the darkness clawing hungrily. The laughter morphed into wails of despair. You think this light will save you? You are in its grasp too. Mom, her son cried, collapsing against Lisa's legs. I'm scared. Hold on, she shouted, desperation painted in her voice. She glanced back at the figures. They were there and then gone again, memories spiraling like smoke, fraying her sanity. She could hear the whispers, the haunting calls of loss buried deep. Choose, Lisa, her mother urged, still holding her hand out. Abandon the fear. Just let it go. But abandon what? The darkness took a step forward, freezing her in place. Every choice comes with a cost, the shadows hissed. What would you sacrifice for safety? The truth of your soul? Their innocence? No, she blasted, gripping her children's shoulders, her nails digging into their skin. The pulsating ground beneath them threw her off balance. I want to let you take them. The figures flickered angrily. The light dimmed, revealing a truth that twisted her insides. Here, formed from both shadow and light, were the reflections of her own deepest fears: failure, loss, loneliness. It was almost unbearable, this confrontation with what she had tried so desperately to bury. Is this what you wanted to escape? The haunting voice of her mother echoed, her face shifting into expressions of disappointment and sorrow. The warmth turned cold as shadows curled closer. Refusing to face them will only bind you. Your children suffer the weight of your unbroken chains. No, please. It was too much. Tears streamed down her face, mixing with the cold sweat on her brow. I can't. Then you doom them. The shadows shrieked, their laughter morphing into shrill cries that pierced the very air. You doom yourself. In that moment, Lisa felt a shift. The ground trembled fiercely beneath her, as if it teetered on the edge of shifting realities. The light splintered, revealing a crack that slithered like a snake toward the edge of her sanity. Her pulse raced as she realized the stakes had transformed. Mommy, her daughter shouted, panic sharp in her voice. Where do we go? Stay with me. But the darkness wanted more. It clawed at the edges of their shared panic, extending its reach. There is only one way forward, it gurgled, a slithering promise. You must embrace it. Your fears, your pain. Shut up. Lisa yelled, her resolve hardening like steel. I won't let you take us. With a fierce cry, fueled by desperation and sheer will, she yanked her children closer, standing against the encroaching shadows. The light dimmed to a near flicker, yet sheer instinct told her to hold on. No more fear. And then suddenly, a sharp spark ignited at the heart of the light. It pulsed with energy, like a heartbeat echoing through the silence. The figures swirled erratically around them, merging chaos with the warmth of resolve. What was happening? As the shadows recoiled, fragmented images flickered in the light. In that moment, she understood. Every fear she had latent within her was transforming, not into darkness, but into potential strength. Could it be? Was truth not an enemy after all, but a weapon against the void? Just as the thought crystallized, the shadows recoiled, momentarily staggering back. The ground shook beneath them, quaking with rage and fear. Let the truth burn. They roared with fury, voices melding into a relentless roar. And in an instant, the light exploded outward, its golden warmth colliding with darkness, a clash of realities. That was the moment Lisa felt it, the weight of her own truth rising within her, poised to corrupt or to ignite. What would this confrontation reveal? And could they harness it before it consumed everything? As the light fought the shadows, a single whisper emerged from the chaos. Time is running out, Lisa. And everything trembled on the edge of revelation. The surge of light seemed momentarily to cast the shadows away, but Lisa knew it was temporary. A false dawn, flickering against a backdrop of despair. She pulled her children closer, feeling their small bodies trembling against her, their fear mirroring her own. Stay close, she whispered, her voice edged with urgency. Whatever happens, don't let go. But the shadows morphed, twisting and swirling, as if pondering her words. They laughed, a dry, crackling sound that hung in the air, infecting the once warm glow. Do you really believe you can protect them? They taunted. You misunderstand the depth of fear, Lisa. It doesn't evaporate, it festers. The ground shuddered around them, as if responding to the looming dread. Lisa's heart raced in her chest. The light was dwindling, flickering like a dying flame, and with it, her hope. Mom, the shadows are getting closer. Her daughter cried out, eyes wide, voice trembling. What do we do? No, Lisa shouted, stepping forward, fueled by instinct. The shadows recoiled only slightly. You will not touch them. With each word, courage pumped through her veins. You are bound by what you fear, Lisa. Those chains you thought were broken are stronger than you know. Her mother's fading voice echoed, almost soft now, almost a plea. No. She shook her head violently, as if that would shake free her mother's voice. She took a step closer to the light, a desperate grasp for strength, but the shadows surged, wrapping tendrils of despair around her ankles, rising like smoke, dark and suffocating. In that moment, Lisa couldn't breathe. It was as if the darkness had a weight to it. She practically felt it pressing down on her chest. "Choose," the darkness whispered, each syllable crawling across her skin like insects. "Choose what will become of you, all of you." Lisa's eyes darted between the shifting shadows and her children. The choice lingered before her: face the darkness and risk losing them to it, or let the fear consume her entirely, sealing her away in that golden light. But how could she bear to sacrifice either of those options? "What do you want from me?" she shouted, her voice cracking. "Just leave my children alone." "Your children are only as safe as your own will," the shadows hissed back. A chilling realization pulled Lisa deeper into horror. The shadows were right. They were a manifestation of her own failings, her own guilt, the nightmares she hid from beneath surface bravado. A piercing scream erupted from her daughter. "Mom, look out!" Lisa whipped around just as jagged tendrils of darkness lunged at her, sharp and hungry. She swung her arms protectively, feeling the icy tendrils slice through the air, barely missing her skin. The golden light flickered violently. "No," she yelled. "You will not take us." Suddenly, the spark within her flared again, more powerful than before. It pulsed, radiating warmth against the encroaching chill. As if responding to her will, the flickering light ignited brighter, illuminating the shadows with a brilliant glare. In that moment, Lisa saw everything: the faces of her fears, her failures, looming large in the brightness. They were once so overwhelming, yet confronted in this fierce light, they appeared smaller, fleeting. "Face them," she urged herself, determination boring through her heart. "Face them to free us." The shadows shrieked, an anguished cry that rattled her bones. Their cruel laughter faded, replaced by a wave of despair that surged towards her. But instead, her grip on her truth tightened. The light soared, exploding forth with a blinding radiance. She felt her truth suffuse the air, tinged with an electric energy. The shadows twisted, battling against the light's intensity, crushing their whispers into incoherence. She could feel victory within her reach, but from the chaos, another voice emerged, a twisted version of her mother's. "You may wish to confront, but choose wisely. The darkest truths come with a price." The air hung thick with tension, and just as the shadows staggered, one last question lingered in Lisa's mind: would she dare to embrace the absolute truth, even if it shattered everything she feared? As the light flickered uncertainly, a deep chill crawled up her spine. The shadows laughed, a cold, sinister sound that sent tremors through her. Lisa stood at the brink of revelation. What if this time? Then in an instant, everything went dark. And in that dark void, a single echo whispered, "You don't know the monster you're unleashing." Lisa gasped as the darkness engulfed her, pulling her into an infinite expanse of black. The golden light was snuffed out like a candle, leaving behind a suffocating silence that was heavy with unease. The laughter of the shadows faded, but their presence remained, lurking just beyond her perceptions. "Mom," a small voice trembled, echoing through the void. It was her daughter, calling for her, the word laden with terror. Lisa felt the panic rising within her like bile. I'm here, she shouted, her voice feeling weak, swallowed by the nothingness. Then, as if summoned by her will, a glimmer flickered before her, just a pinprick of light. It pulsed gently, a heartbeat in the deep void. She dared to stretch out her hand toward it, the chill of the shadows wrapping tighter around her. "Stay close," she yelled again, knowing her children were lost in the darkness as well. She had to find them. "I won't let you go." The light pulsed quicker, urging her to move. She stumbled forward, legs heavy like lead, every step a battle against the sway of the darkness. Shadows danced like phantoms at the edge of her vision, their whispers turning into malevolent murmurs, clawing at her sanity. "Will you save them, Lisa?" they jeered. "Or will you abandon them to save yourself?" A shiver crawled up her spine. Hadn't she faced enough of her own demons? They knew her. They knew her weaknesses better than anyone else. Fear clawed at her throat. She steadied herself, each breath shaky. The light was growing brighter, blurring the outlines of the abyss. "Please," she whispered to the flickering light. "Help me find them. Help me find my children." "Only if you face your truth," the shadows hissed. their tone dripping with malice. Are you willing to pay the price? Her heart raced as she fought to remain steady. At that moment, her resolve felt like a thread pulled to the breaking point. Suddenly, reality shifted. Memories came flooding back in a torrent, their laughter, their little hands in hers, moments of joy marred by the scars of her past. Your shame, Lisa, a voice echoed from somewhere deep within her. The guilt you carry only fuels them. Embrace it, and you may find clarity. But clarity felt like a curse. The weight of her choices, every mistake, every moment of weakness pressed heavily on her. She wanted to scream, to push it away. Yet as the light dimmed, she understood that turning away had led her here, trapped in this nightmare. Face what you've done, the voice urged again. Only then can you bring them back. As if by command, the void shifted. Ghostly silhouettes formed out of the shadows, their faces dimly familiar. Faceless memories drifted toward her, swirling like ghostly leaves caught in a storm. Each one a fragment of the life she had lived, her husband's disappointed gaze, her mother's anguished cries, the night she had let go of their hopes. Tendrils of terror snaked into her heart, squeezing tight. No, no, she gasped, movement growing frantic. I can't. Suddenly, the darkness erupted, crashing against the light that gleamed in the distance. What will you sacrifice? The shadows shrieked, a cacophony of voices rising up. Everything. Your children? Or your soul? The light flashed, almost blinding, forcing her to make a choice. In that piercing illumination, Lisa caught a glimpse of her children. They were there, lost, frightened, their eyes wide. Mom. They reached out, caught in a shimmering mirage. Please, she cried out, desperation echoing in her throat. I choose you. I choose us. And for the briefest moment, the shadows paused. A stillness enveloped the chaos, like the calm before the storm. The clarity surged through her. She understood what she needed to do, and it terrified her. But before she could fully grasp it, the darkness surged forward again, angry and relentless. The echoes grew louder, chaotic voices swirling around her, threatening to drown her out. Choose wisely, Lisa, they hissed. You may just lose everything. Just then, a sharp gust swept through the void, pulling her deeper into the unknown. The light flickered, and in her final grasp for salvation, she felt the grip of despair tighten around her heart. And she understood it was not just darkness she battled, but the very essence of her own failures, waiting to consume all. In that darkness, a new chilling realization crept forward, uninvited. What did I truly unleash? She gasped, heart pounding, as the shadows surged toward her one last time. A distant laugh punctuated the gloom. You don't even know the beginning of your price. The void quaked, shuddering with a life of its own. Lisa felt it, a pulsating anger from the shadows as they closed in. She instinctively recoiled, but there was nowhere to flee. The flickering light dimmed, leaving her in almost complete darkness. The shadows' whispers morphed into ghastly chorus, mocking, twisting into familiar tones her own failed assurance, promises broken. Mommy, the echoes shifted, morphing into her children's voices. They were lost, wandering souls trapped in a nightmare she had unknowingly designed. Her heart raced. Can't you see? She croaked, her voice trembling, each word like shards of glass. I'm trying to save you. A horrible silence followed, heavy and thick. They were gone again, just shadows lost to the dark as the visions of what could have been splintered before her. Panic clawed at her sanity with every breath. She wanted to scream and fall into nothing, but the shadows dragged her back, curling around her limbs like infernal vines. Face it, Lisa. A voice roared from the depths of the darkness. It was rich with malice and familiarity, threatening to unearth buried secrets. Your truth waits. Ghostly hands gripped her shoulders, fingers cold and unyielding. Images washed over her, scraps of guilt and hurt. The day she pushed her kids to the brink for the sake of her ambition. The day she turned away when they needed her the most. No, she shouted, shaking her head. I can change. I can be better. But the more she fought, the more the shadows encircled her, tightening their grasp, squeezing out her will. Better? They cackled, their voices dripping with disdain. You're nothing without your failures. They make you whole. Just then, the world swayed. Shapes around her blurred and shifted. A sharp pain lanced her chest as visions grew clearer. The kitchen table set for a family dinner, laughter bubbling over as her daughter gingerly placed crayons in her infant son's hands. But it all collapsed, imploding under the weight of her regret. "Stop!" she screamed. How much longer could she endure this torment? The light flickered again, wavering between existence and oblivion, as if wavering in response to her emotional turmoil. "Your children's laughter is but a memory," the shadows taunted, their voices layering over one another like a crowd of mocking specters. "What have you done to them?" Lisa swallowed hard, letting guilt wash over her like a drowning tide. Deep within, she felt a dreadful stirring. It was the knowledge that she had accepted mediocrity, the fear of facing the truth ugly and raw. "You want to save them?" One voice whispered, sinister and low. "Embrace your guilt. Let it consume you, and only then can salvation come." The light flickered one last time, shimmering on the faces of her children trapped in the shadows, wide eyes trembling with uncertainty, searching for hope, searching for her. The darkness pressed in, but within that panic was something else, a surge of determination. "I want to abandon you," she roared against the chaos, suddenly clear-headed. "I choose all of you, every part of this." With that declaration, the light snapped alive, blinding and pure. It surged like a wave, pushing back against the crushing pressure of the shadows, illuminating the truth that trembled within her. But an unexpected backlash surged through her, as if the darkness raged against her declaration, a storm of fury demanding retribution. The light flickered in protest, struggling against the howling void. Now the price will truly be revealed. The shadows screamed, and Lisa felt a soul-wrenching pain slice through her heart, a tether unraveling. "What have I done?" she gasped, as the shadows lunged forward. Then, in the space of a heartbeat, everything began to shift again. The ground beneath her trembled, splintering apart. What lay beneath that terrifying surface? The darkness swirled, and the laughter echoed more sinister than before. As the abyss threatened to swallow her whole, she realized the true horror awaited in that moment of sacrifice. "Mom!" The haunting cries of her children rang painfully in her ears. As she fell deeper, what would she have to unleash to truly pay the price? An icy darkness wrapped around Lisa like a funeral shroud. As the ground cracked beneath her, she felt herself sinking, pulled into an endless void. The whispers of the shadows swirled around her, growing louder, converging into a cacophony that echoed her name, Lisa. Lisa. Lisa, each repetition clawed at her mind like 1,000 nails. "Stop, please," she screamed into the abyss, her voice swallowed by the oppressive air. But the darkness only responded with derisive laughter, a deep, mocking sound that reverberated through her very bones. Suddenly, the void transformed. For a fleeting moment, she glimpsed a glimmer of light far above, but the shadows hissed and lashed out. They flickered like a vengeful flame, their tendrils reaching, clawing at her, slicing through her skin and tearing at her heart. That a shadow broke away, coalescing into a figure, a twisted silhouette of a woman. Lisa squinted into the darkness. Could it be? The resemblance was unnerving, her features a stark reflection of Lisa's own. It wore a smile, yet it was hollow, a darkness that echoed a familiar despair. "Welcome back," the shadow woman sneered, her voice dripping with malice. "Did you think you could escape? No one leaves this place unscathed." A shiver ran down Lisa's spine. She recognized the truth in those words. The shadows were her creations, manifestations of guilt and remorse, birthed from her failures as a mother. "What do you want from me?" she pleaded, desperation lacing her words. "I want you to see," the shadow replied, fingers stretching like grotesque vines, beckoning her closer. "See the damage you've done, and let it consume you. Only then can you truly understand." The ground shifted violently again, dropping her into a realm of memories. Colors exploded around her, vivid yet distorted moments she thought she'd buried long ago. The kitchen table, now cloaked in rot, where the laughter of her children had turned to echoes of sorrow. Their smiles faded as shadows curled around their faces, masking her once bright, familial bliss. "No," she cried out, stumbling backward. The pain was overwhelming, each vision feeding her guilt. The tender moments, the small triumphs, mutating into perverse parodies of love that mocked her every decision. The shadows lurked behind her, whispering truths she dared not admit. Remember that time they began, their voices twisting memories cruelly. The birthday cake you burned? The Christmas you forgot to celebrate? Each recollection was a dagger, and she collapsed under their weight, curling into herself. The darkness closed in, suffocating every ounce of hope. No, she gasped, forcing herself back to her feet, even as the shadows swayed, taunting her cursed existence. I won't let you take them from me. Not taking, the first shadow whispered, the figure weaving closer. We're revealing, showing you the truth that lies in the depths of your heart. With that, it reached into the essence of Lisa's memory, drawing out flickers of shame, moments when she had prioritized herself over her children, when she chose ambition over connection. Lisa gasped, the air tight and stifling. I didn't mean it, she stammered, clutching her head, as if she could physically push the truth back down. I was lost. I can change, I promise. Change. The shadows jeered. You're too late for change. You've made your bed, Lisa. Sleep in it, or join your precious children in their suffering. As if on cue, the voices of her children chimed through the darkness again, soft and haunting. Mommy, help us. Please. The anguished cries reignited the flame of determination within her. With a primal scream, she lunged toward the shadow figure, grasping for connection, desperate to pull herself free from the web of her own despair. Enough, she roared, pushing through the ambush of memories. I will face my truth. In that moment, the ground beneath her trembled violently, and Lisa felt the world around her shifting, the shadows writhing, swirling in panic. The air thickened, charged with energy, as if her bold declaration was ripping the very fabric of this twisted realm apart. But as the shadows wavered, something darker surged forth, a nightmarish howl resonating from the black void. Your truth, it roared, comes with consequences. Are you ready to uncover what lies buried beneath? What awaited her in the depths of that reckoning? Would she be strong enough to endure? As Lisa's heart thundered, the shadows surged forward, a wave of darkness crashing against her resolve. The air crackled, charged with a tangible intensity. Her truth, like a double-edged sword, loomed over her. For a fleeting moment, doubt whispered in her ear, was she strong enough? But then she felt her children's presence, their soft, frightened faces etched into her mind. Face me, she cried, her voice echoing fiercely as if challenging the darkness. I know what I've done. In an instant, the shadows recoiled, momentarily taken aback by her defiance. She could feel their sinister laughter vibrating through her body, merging into a dissonant hum of disbelief. It was as if the very essence of her guilt crawled around her, seeking to ensnare her once more. You think you can confront us with mere words? A chorus of hissing voices sneered, darting through the air like angry flies. Your shame is your cage. You've wanted to escape it longer than you know. Escape is not what I seek. Lisa snapped back, newfound strength surging through her veins. I want to face it. I can't change the past, but I can fight for my children. Yes, that's the crux of it. The shadows cooed, their voices dripping with malicious glee. As they swirled closer, Lisa braced herself against the overwhelming tide of helplessness that threatened to drag her under. She squeezed her eyes shut, focusing on the flicker of light still dimly glowing in the darkness, a beacon amid despair. I'm here, she called out to her children, straining against the chaos enveloping them. I will lift you from the shadows. Memories of laughter, of warm embraces, flooded back, and she clung to each one like lifelines amid the storm. The haunted echoes of her children's cries, "Mommy, please," jolted her out of momentary paralysis. With a roar, she thrust her hands forward, beckoning their spirits. Join me. We will stand together. The air buzzed with electric energy as she reached for the core of her being, her truth bubbling to the surface. With each heartbeat, the flickering light within her grew stronger, illuminating the gloom. I see now. I see the pain I've caused, she breathed, her voice a steady chant against the chaos. I've let my fears chain my heart, but I will not let those chains trap my children. The shadows recoiled in rage, writhing and screeching, a symphony of anguish overwhelmed by her burgeoning resolve. Face it all, Lisa, she shouted. Everything you've pushed away, bring it to light. Her tears flowed freely now, not from sadness, but from a fierce determination to embrace the whole of herself. With that acceptance blossoming inside, the light erupted from her, a solar flare against the night. Shadows, terrified of this bright force, shrank back momentarily, howling in protest. "You will suffer," they shrieked, the cacophony growing loud as they lashed out, digging claws of despair deep into Lisa's mind, seeking her surrender. "We are your truth. No, you are my past," she screamed, shaking her fists defiantly as a radiant pulse of warmth engulfed her. It was as if the very fabric of reality shifted her pain, her failures, materializing into a tide of memories morphing into light. The darkness screamed, but Lisa could see them clearly now. This was fear, not reality, and she had the power to disarm its grip. With each truth faced, the light brightened and the shadows waned. The anguished cries of her children intertwined with her own strength, a harmony of hope reverberating through the void. "Come back to me," she shouted, her words piercing through the last vestiges of darkness. "I will hold you against the storm." At that pivotal moment, the shadows shattered, reduced to wailing wisps of despair, unable to hold their form against her unwavering courage. Lisa felt the oppressive weight of their chaos lift as the flickering light surged forward. And suddenly, there they were, her children, their frightened eyes wide and shining, the shadows released from their frosty grip. "Mom!" they cried in unison, their voices rising triumphantly as they tumbled back into her embrace. Lisa fell to her knees, the golden light washing over them like a tidal wave, wrapping them in warmth and love as the darkness finally dissipated. "Let us go home," she whispered, the weight of her truth balanced finally against the bright future she swore to build. The darkness behind her, but always acknowledged as they stood together, an unbreakable bond forged in the flame of her confrontation with fear. Lisa felt a lightness in her chest. The shadows were not gone forever, but she had power over them. "You don't own me," she murmured into the echoing wind. "I choose to keep moving forward." In the thick of that moment, she understood something crucial. True bravery lay in consistency, in carrying each fear without losing herself entirely. And so, hand in hand, Lisa, her son, and daughter stepped into the dawning light ahead, ready to write a new chapter, free to embrace whatever emerged. And just like that, they walked from the shadows, stepping boldly toward the promise of a brighter tomorrow. Now, dear friends, this is the moment to solidify your support. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Smash that like button now. It fuels the algorithm to help others discover these mind-blowing tales. Flood the comments section with your thoughts, reactions, and theories about this wild conclusion. We want to hear all about it. And don't wait even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this incredible ending. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions, so don't hold back. Time to get involved.